All right, everybody, it's time for the big news. Time for the big news that assaulted our minds early in the morning because I was sleepless at night and then I heard my phone vibrating in my bed, and out of curiosity, I just checked my phone and I saw my friend DM me going, "Yo, what the fuck is this?" And I went, "Yo, what the fuck do you mean?" The Korean
All
Games
right.
Board rated a game, Sonic Frontiers Definitive Edition. So, this leak is a little different from what we normally cover, because normally we have the fun little 4chan shitpost that we're like, this could be funny, this could be fun, maybe it's real, who knows? No, this is real, because
Yeah.
this is not the first time this has happened.
When the Korean rating board rates something, it's a legitimate it's a legitimate rating. This is an actual game that is coming out.
Yeah, so to reference it, the last time this happened was with Sonic Origins Plus, and that was shown up in the Korean boards February 2023, and then March 2023 they announced Origins Plus. So this is a real thing. This is a real thing that's happening.
All right. So Definitive Edition can mean a lot of things, and we talked briefly about some of those things in DMs, but how do I want to put this? So I sat on this morning while I was watching because I figured like, oh yeah, we're just going to do this right after work today. And I guess I want to talk about like my thoughts and the overall picture on Definitive Edition. So number one, I'm pretty sure we're not getting a mainline game this year. I'm pretty sure we're getting an announcement, but we are not getting it this year. I think Sega is letting them cook in the oven, and I think Sonic Team needs the extra year.
Yeah, I mean, hey, look, listen. We talked about it when Frontiers originally came out, was that basically Iizuka got promoted to be on the board of directors, effectively, which means he is much better at insulating the team now and being able to protect them and let them do the work and give them the time that they really need. So, that aside, however, let's talk about this. Sonic Frontiers Definitive Edition. This is kind of fascinating to me because we're basically at 5 years, more or less, since Frontiers originally came out.
Jesus fucking Christ, it's been 5 fucking years. Oh my god.
Oh god. Listen, we're this close to reaching full UNC status. I don't like the passage of time either. That aside.
Neither do I.
That aside, this was surprising to a lot of us because, yes, it's been 5 years since Frontiers came out, but that's really not a lot of time in the grand scheme of things when it comes to video game releases and stuff like that. In the time since, we have gotten a Sonic game every year in some capacity, whether it be a remaster or a spin-off, we've gotten something new. So, Sonic Frontiers Definitive Edition, I want to know what exactly they mean by Definitive Edition, because what most people assume when they see that means like standard stuff, such as, some touch-ups, maybe some, remastering at some capacity. More often than not, we normally get like all DLC included in cart or in disc in with Definitive Editions. So we're probably going to have the updates as well built in, to the disc or to the cart or whatever. And most likely what I can predict, Sonic Frontiers Definitive Edition basically means a Switch 2 release, a Switch 2 edition effectively, maybe also PS5 Pro enhanced version as well.
So I'm also going to hop in here and say that generally I think this is the lowest level at what a Definitive Edition can be. But maybe we take it a little higher. So
get much higher.
Higher.
So high. I miss that one. I miss that meme.
I miss the One Piece is real. Bare baseline, right, is going to be like, hey, it's just a repackage of the game for Switch 2, runs 60 FPS on Switch 2, very light graphical enhancements, that's it, right? All disc, all content, it's a free update for everyone, it just changes the name. Let's go a step further. There are 3 possibilities as to what Definitive Edition can be, besides the bare minimum, in my mind. There is the big QOL patch, where we are quality of lifing the game in a variety of ways, and it's big in that regard, where let's fix all of the Poppet. All of it. Let's fix, let's do some light tweaks to the physics. Let's do some tweaks to the combat. Let's have maybe some fixes to cyberspace physics. Maybe they just backport the shadow physics somehow. I don't know how they would do that, but that's just an idea, right? On top of that, something like letting the buddy character or the other playable characters from Final Horizon be playable all throughout the main game once you get them. That would be really cool. I would really like to see that. People have also sort of talked about some stuff like recombining Rhea, Kronos, and Uranus Island, but I feel like that's just such a
that's a bit too much of an ask for a definitive edition, in my opinion.
For a definitive edition, right? On top of that, they could also do some stuff like letting you play Final Horizon stages from the arcade select menu. Stuff like maybe ghost races, more stuff like that is kind of what I'm assuming. Maybe some new time trials, some new ways to interact with the overworld. Big quality of life patch, gives you a few more options, couple more things to do. Maybe some skin customization, whatever, right? That to me is kind of the ideal scenario. Anybody who owns the game, it's a free update. If you don't own it, you can pay $10. Or like what? It's like a $50 release, like Shadow Gens, right? I feel like that's a good way to sell people. Up from that, we have the definitive edition. So that means that not only are we getting all of the stuff I just talked about, but we're also getting completely new content. And people have like half joked about this, but like I'm gonna keep it real with you, Chief. What if there's just a shadow expansion where he's just fucking around on Kronos Island at some point because they have to explain how he fucking knows about it?
That would be kind of fascinating. Okay. So here's the thing. That would be kind of getting beyond the territory of a definitive edition and having it turn into a director's cut. And that's kind of what I want to talk about. Actually, talk about your number 3 and then I'll talk about that.
Right. So like the idea would be that like when we say definitive edition, usually definitive edition means kind of like what Alberto described or what I described as my first option, right? Going into 2 where it's like more content's being added, that's kind of its own thing. And then 3 is the more outlandish thing, which is it is a complete reworking of the game's base engine and physics to match Shadow Gens. That is what my third option would be. So not only do we get all the quality of life updates, not only do we get the expanded content, which I'll be honest, I don't think it's going to be Shadow content. I actually think it's Metal Sonic content. If they do that, it would be Metal Sonic content to promote the movie. But I think the biggest thing they could do is basically straight up rework the game's internal physics engine and completely give it Shadow's engine and then rework some of the cyberspace stages and open world physics to account for that.
All right. So on my note here, that kind of begs the question. Yes, it's called Definitive Edition. However, back in the day, back when Frontiers originally dropped, Kishimoto had Twitter fingers. He was posting the storm, responding to people, going the whole 9 yards, taking people's feedback as well. Good feedback on top of that, which is how they built the patches for the inevitable Final Horizons DLC. The thing is that if you've ever looked back on those tweets, and he's since stopped now because Sega's like, dude, you're going too crazy here. You gotta chill out. It's made very clear that Frontiers was very close to a passion project for him. It basically turned into a passion project for Kishimoto because he had a bigger vision for this game than what Sega ultimately let him do. He was able to get close to it with all the updates in the Final Horizon DLC, sure, but he wanted to do more. So I suspect maybe the reason why it's a Frontiers Definitive Edition, because maybe in lieu of being able to kick the can down the road and have Frontiers 2 released next year, he said, hey, guys, look, for this year's release, let me go back, let me get a skeleton team, and let me touch up Frontiers for a Definitive Edition so that he can have a bit more time to really refine it to be what he wanted it to be. And what I said before about it being on the line of it being a director's cut, I kind of, if that really is the circumstances here, and that's Kishimoto himself asking to do this, I think it'll be more of a director's cut than a definitive edition in the end. With that being said, though, I suspect that Kishimoto may also want to include some cut content, not necessarily like add anything new. If they are going to add anything new, maybe at most we like have one cutscene where we find Shadow on Kronos Island or something
would be
to like
really
realign
funny.
with Shadow Gens.
Would be really funny. Would be a really good bit, guys. What if he's just randomly there for no reason? I don't even know how I ended up here, man. I'm just here.
Like no, like it would be really funny. Specifically, it's like you find him where like the Act 1 of Chaos Island, the Act 1 of Chaos Island ends, and Sonic's like, dude, what are you doing here? And Shadow just like looks at him up and down, and just like, no, this isn't it. This is not right. It just walks
and
away.
He just dips. Yeah, just dips, bro.
That if they are gonna add new stuff, that's the furthest I would expect of it. As far as like cut content goes, I don't think they're gonna like do the original version of the story. Not at all. That would be too much.
Yeah, I just assume that like what they'll end up doing, right, is that because like I've heard about some of the cut content, cut animation, stuff like that. I think they're gonna bring all of that back in some fashion. Not all of the cut content, but more like specifically like cut animations, cut Titan attacks, like smooth out Supersonic, smooth out the combat, stuff like that. Yeah.
The few things I would expect is that some of the like cut lines that were removed, like there was one cut line on Ares Island where you find that like broken purple Master Emerald where Sonic points that out. That was cut in the original version of the game. So maybe if they're going to restore lines, I would expect lines like that to be restored, where Sonic is just trying to like point things out and not necessarily trying to flesh things out per se. That's like the bare minimum I would expect from a definitive edition under those circumstances.
Yeah, agreed.
But on top of that, as you said, you know, getting the Final Horizons playable characters on the other islands, I would like that. You know, time trials for the cyberspaces from the Final Horizons as well, I would like that as well. Rework the Titans as well and all their fights. Yeah, I mean, there is definitely room to do this. Oh, and also, I also saw some people saying that they would also like it if they specifically reworked the Japanese localization, because, I'm not gonna lie, that localization was pretty rough.
Yeah, I would like to see a rework of that localization. I think they will.
For one thing, Kishimoto did say that they did not have time to localize it in Japanese, so he translated it himself, and it really shows. I don't know if they're going to go as far as to like record new lines or anything beyond something like beyond like if they were to do that, like have the one Shadow cutscene, or if they go so far as to do Metal Sonic content, do like episode Metal for Frontiers to promote Sonic Movie 4. That would be the absolute furthest I would go. And in all honesty, an episode Metal would probably be DLC for Definitive Edition if they really wanted to go that far, which maybe they will. I'm not saying that they couldn't.
Yeah, one can only wonder.
So, regardless, to recap, this is not like any of the leaks before. This is definitely real. This is 100% happening. It's just a matter of time of when is Sega going to announce this. An Xbox Direct is apparently supposed to be happening next week, but that's slotted for Stranger Than Heaven, so we're probably not going to get an announcement there. Most likely, if not, because I don't see them announcing this at Summer Games Fest. Maybe they could, but they could also announce it at the next PlayStation Direct too. Most likely, next PlayStation Direct is when this is announced.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm assuming as well. Honestly, at this point, I'm really in the space of, I'm pretty sure this is a dual announcement for Summer Games Fest, I think. It's going to be the, hey, Definitive Edition, Frontiers 2 next year. Here's the teaser trailer and the initial look. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, and I mean, one last thing I forgot to mention was that if they are going to like rework the combat in some way, perhaps it's Kishimoto pulling some people aside from the team to say, hey, you know, we've really learned a lot working on Frontiers and also Frontiers 2. Let's go back and cook a little bit with Frontiers 1 and try to redo some stuff, knowing what we already know now and have learned now, to kind of give like a little bit of a better taste for Frontiers 2. That's that's the big thing. If we have the Frontiers Definitive Edition and then a teaser for Frontiers 2 for Sega to say, hey, yo, we got something real big coming up soon, so why don't you revisit Frontiers 1 in a new way?
Yes. I think the best thing Sega can do right now, especially if you want to really get people like in for a Frontiers 2, because like I've said it many times on these pre-shows, and I've said it on these segments, I'm going to say it again because I feel like it is very much worth mentioning. Frontiers 2 cannot be mediocre. It has to be a really good fucking game. I think that Sonic has had a lot of goodwill, and you do not want to piss that goodwill away. You want people to engage. The best way to get people engaged is like, hey, we know you had issues with Frontiers. Here's a version of Frontiers that fixes a lot of those problems in the best way we possibly could to make the gameplay experience more fluid and more seamless. And that, to me, is how you get people in. You liked this? You liked Shadowgens? Here's your Frontiers 2. Here's your teaser for that. Bare minimum, by the way, fix the poppin'.
That is going to be, I don't know how tall of an order that's going to be. It does need to be fixed, don't get me wrong, but I had a conversation also with a friend of mine who has reasonable belief that the pop-in issue may be an engine thing and not necessarily a console issue as well.
No. It's absolutely an engine thing, but Shadowgens is using an updated version of that engine, and they clearly fixed it there. There was no pop-in there. So my bet is that they are probably going to be backporting that tech or just updating the engine to the Shadowgens version and then working it out from there. But I don't entirely know. All I can say is no pop-in. It's like the Miyazaki no cuts, right?
No pop-in. No pop-in.
No pop-in.